My name is Jordan, also known as Scraps. Today I will be teaching you this wrap tightly synth. And this is kind of a special video as well because I recently reached 117 subscribers, and since I love 117 as one of my favorite numbers, one of my favorite numbers is 8 because 8 is enough. Another favorite number of mine is 420, then 710, then 8,888, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, all in that order. So today I would like to show you this very special synth. It just requires a lot of signal process removing, distorting those signals back into place, and then removing them again to create kind of a unique sound. But not only that, but this synth requires a lot of source programming, as you can see. So I'm going to play a quick few notes of this, and then we'll get started. So as you can hear, it sounds very different from a lot of the synths out there, and that's because we're actually using a lot of the internal effects to modulate some of the very basic sounds. And it should be noted that we're using a lot of global envelope filters to modulate a lot of the sources that goes into programming this. So what I'm going to do is create a brand new Reason document. And since I love to create this menu, there are 3 different ways to create the menu. The menu is all your devices and everything that you use to create the synth and all your instruments and effects. There are 3 ways to get this. You can right-click to go to this menu, but if you don't have a right-clickable PC mouse, you can hold down Control and left-click to get the same menu. Then after this, or you can hit F8 to get this menu as well. If you own a Mac, you can hit Fn and then hit F8, and it'll give you the same command. Fn just disables all the little keyboard shortcuts that you might have on your keyboard, as you can see there. I have a bit of a mess going on in my desk, so try and teach this as easy as possible. So I'm going to go and create a combinator from my utilities. And inside this combinator, I'm going to go to my instruments and create a blank instance of Maelstrom. I'm going to open it up. I'm not going to mess with the range or the polyphony release or anything like that. For my first oscillator, I'm going to set this to a FM pair. I'm going to take it down 2 octaves. I'm going to set the FM amount to 84. I'm going to set all 3 parameters going to filter 1. Same thing for filter 2. And I'm going to route this back to filter 2 and route this out. So for my second oscillator, and make sure to turn this up all the way, I'm going to turn it into an analog oscillator. I'm going to take it down an octave, 2 octaves actually. We're going to set this to a sine wave, and we're going to turn our PW, our pulse width, to 94. It's very important to get all these numbers because, oh, and just in case you can't get finite numbers, just hold down Shift. And make sure sync is turned on for both 2 and 3 oscillator. This synth is pretty picky. So for our third oscillator, we're going to choose another FM pair. We're going to change the carrier type to 9. And we're going to change the mod to 3. For the FM, we're going to change this to about 98. Like I said, if you can't get the finite numbers, just hold down Shift while left clicking, holding, you'll get it. So for my filter 1, I'm going to change this to a format filter. I'm going to bring this all the way down in the corner. X and Y are, well, X is 127 and Y is 0. I'm going to take the drive pretty much all the way down to 22 and the gender at 18. I'm going to turn on shaper. Soft clip is fine. We're going to turn up the drive pretty much all the way to 100. For LFO1, turn on key sync, tempo sync, and for the rate, make sure it's 1/8. Make sure it's waveform 16. Turn up the keyboard follow all the way, and the delay, bring that about 378 milliseconds. Don't need to mess with filter 3. For filter 2, however, we want to turn this into a low-pass ladder filter. We're going to take the frequency to 260 Hz and bring the resonance to about 38 and change it to a type 6. Leave the drive in the envelope where it is. We're going to take our amp envelope all the way and our sustain envelope all the way. And make sure for global envelope that's loop turned on and tempo sync. We're going to take our A amount to 1/8. We're going to take our hold to 3/8. And we're going to leave our delay where it is. For our sustain, however, we're going to bring that all the way up to -6.8 decibels. And our release. Hold on one moment. Okay, sorry about that. My phone rang for 1 millisecond, and then when I tried to redial the number to see who it was, the phone was busy. So, wrong number. Okay, now for the patch bank. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually go to my LFO2 and set this up. I want to hit key sync and tempo sync, set it to, actually I'm not sure what this is set to, 1/8, so that's where it is. And we're going to change this to waveform 1. That's about it that we really need to do for the main body of the synth. For my source 1, I'm going to set oscillator 2. For the amount, I'm going to set that to 100. And I'm going to set oscillator 3 FM amount. Okay, now for our second source, we're going to choose oscillator 3. We're going to turn it up to 35. Hold down Shift if you can't get those finite numbers again. That's the last time I'm going to tell you. So after this, we're going to choose our shaper drive for the destination. For our next source, we're going to choose oscillator 1. Actually, we're going to change this to a shaper. We're going to set the amount to be 21. And we're going to set it to oscillator 2 FM. For the next installment of sources we need to figure out, we're going to choose LFO1. The amount to be 94. So bring it up to 100 and just back off a bit. For the destination, we want this to be filter to frequency. Next, we want our global envelope. We want this to have an impact of 75 on LFO1 rate. Then, after this, we're going to choose our LFO2. We're going to set the amount to be 100. And actually, my bad, it needs to be over here. There's a lot. It's a little bit bigger. I'll explain this in a minute. We're going to choose our LFO2. We're going to set the amount to be 100. The destination needs to be oscillator 1 FM amount. So FM amount. Then we want this to have an effect of 53 on our amp input and have this to be 100% on our LFO1. For our next source, we're going to choose filter 1, We're going to have an impact of 10. and we're going to set this to be oscillator 1 FM. Oh, I'm sorry, oscillator 1 FM, as in just frequency modulation. Next, we're going to have to choose our global envelope, turn up the amount to be -91. It's too bad when you double click on a parameter, it doesn't reset. For the destination, our first destination, we want this to be our oscillator 3 FM amount. Next, we want to have our amp envelope. Have this be 44 and set it to our filter 2 frequency. Next, our final sources, we're going to choose our modifiers, choose rotary 1. After this, we're going to set the amount to be 100%, the destination to be the shaper drive. We're going to have the shaper drive to be controllable, so that way our wavetable that we've created will go through the shaper and move, but only slightly. We want this to be impacted slightly. So for our last one, we're going to choose amp, 100%, 100 on the shaper drive. We're going to have this also be 100 on the amp, be 100 on the amp as well, on the final. And now that we have the basic sound, so now that we have this, we're just going to need to master this. So I'm going to set a Studio Effects and create a RV7000 Advanced Reverb. I'm going to bring my drive back about 38 and the decay 21. After this, we're going to create a Line 6 bass amp. Just turn it on for now. We're going to create 2 equalizers here. And then we're going to set up a Scream 4 distortion after this. So found in Creative Effects. So for our first equalizers, I'm going to turn on low cut, parameter 1, parameter 2. I'm going to take this about 205 Hertz, push the gain all the way down, push up the Q about 20.1. Next, we want to boost this, so about 13.4 decibels, and then set this to about 134 frequency, turn up the Q to be 10.5. Then after this, we're going to set our P1 just straight down in the middle. It'll work fine there. For the damage, we're going to set this to 20. We're going to set the type to fuzz, and we're going to set P1 in the middle, and P2, we're going to set that at 18. Turn on body, turn resonance to 44. Put scale to 0 and auto to 0, and we're going to set this to type E. After this, we're going to create another equalizer. We're going to turn on low cut, parameter 1. We're going to take P1 all the way down, the gain all the way down, and the Q all the way up. Then finally, we want to boost this somewhere in the middle, so right about there, 6.9. Turn up the Q a bit. Next, we're going to create a pulverizer. We're going to turn up the squash a bit more. We're going to set the type to comb. We're going to also turn up the tremor frequency to 22%. We're going to turn up the rate about 1.14 kilohertz and the spread. So now that we've set this, I want to turn this to filter so that way the filter goes to squash thin dirt. And finally, let's have the waveform of the tremor be a decay. And I also forgot to set it for comb. We should have some lagginess. So after some quick analysis, we want to set this to 2.43 kilohertz. What this is actually doing is creating a very soft clipping of bit crushing, actually. So this gives it a nice dynamic. After this, we're going to go to our Studio Effects and choose an M-class equalizer twice. We're going to choose for our first parameter and our second parameter. For our P1, we want to take this all the way negative and turn up the Q all the way. I'm going to take this about, let's take this about 5,000 kilohertz. There we go. And for our P2, we're going to set this to 1.756 kilohertz. I want to take the gain pretty much all the way down and push up the Q to about 15.3. After this, I'm going to turn on P2 and take the gain all the way down and just set this, we'll set this at 4.64 kilohertz. Turn up the Q all the way, and after this, we're going to create another screen forward distortion unit. We're going to set the damage to 20, and we're going to set the type to tube. I'm actually going to set that to 40 instead of 20. I'm going to take my P1 all the way down, and I'm going to turn my P2 halfway. I'm going to turn on my cut. I want to take the low all the way to negative 51, boost the mids a bit, and for the highs, just take that up a notch. Okay, now to really master this synth, we're going to create 3 equalizers. For our first set of 3 equalizers, I'm going to turn on P1 and P2. For P1, I'm going to take this to 4.646, but we've already taken care of that. I'm actually going to delete this first equalizer. So for our second equalizer, we're going to turn on low cut, low shelf, P1, P2, pretty much the whole thing. I'm going to boost my low shelf a bit. I want to bring my P1 all the way down, gain all the way down, except I'm going to take the Q to 3. I want to take P2 and just create a giant dip, but not have it too harsh. So have it right in there. Then finally, I'm going to take the high shelf all the way down to 3.394 and just boost it. Take the Q right up. After this, we just want to finalize it a little bit more, so I'm just going to take our first one and take it to 169. Take the Q all the way up and the gain all the way down, and then just add a maximizer. Take it off a limiter, put release to auto, and take soft clip on, and take the amount to be 127. And your sought-after effort of paying attention to this synth has created the very same synth. Probably a little bit wider, and probably a little bit more accurate. So I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I will check you guys out tomorrow. Peace.